I've got a window. Hi, Rick.
My
Welcome to
name
Carl
is
Rick.
Michael. I got a window. I got a window shiny and new. And I'm gonna buy me all kinds of sunshine. That's what I'm gonna do.
We're keeping this
Okay.
in.
For those listeners who were alive in the 1960s, I remember Top 40 radio. It's my name is Michael. I got a nickel, but
uh,
Carl's got a window instead of
window
a
it works.
nickel.
Well, Rick knows my light doesn't think I'm human anymore because it turned off. So, hey, but I've got a window.
Yeah,
Can't
there's
turn that
no
off.
sentient being in the room that Carl is recording this from.
Yeah, I know. If only somebody else would come in here. Anyway, um, well, Rick, we were uh, we we're definitely going to bounce around a little bit today, but it'll be
Woo.
interesting. I think yeah, exactly. We both got a lot to say.
And to
Um,
think I dressed up for it too,
I know, hot off the press. Um, okay, well, yeah. So let's talk about AI and its uses and yeah, misuses because I think both of us were just griping about how yeah, I think a lot of people rely too much on it. We all know that. I think we should at this point we should be getting better at it, right? And it's unfortunate we're not. Um, but yeah, okay. I'll start it here, and then you jump in. Okay. So I can say for the publication I edit, Intelligent Risk, we've seen enough of AI's of the range of use. Excuse me. Um, and we think we're ready to get a little more hands-on and point out where we see it working well and not so well. And we're thinking to do a workshop on this idea. And we've already come out with some guidelines, which I think I spoke about a couple of times, but they are now up live about avoiding it for brainstorming an article, avoiding it for polishing your text too early in a first draft, and using it for stuff that just is manual and you don't want to take care of, like references. So this is what we want to get a couple of people around the table on, get some discussion going, and hopefully we see a range like this in our submissions. We would prefer not to see the bottom 90% of that, and hopefully this kind of workshop and practical guidelines gets us to submissions in the top 10% of AI use, because I'm starting to see some really creative, good use of AI that comes across very personal, is specific. It's obviously been reviewed. There's somebody checking this stuff, and so I'm impressed with some of the use. But yeah, the bottom 90% I would prefer not to see. So, where do you want to jump in, Rick?
Well, gee, I don't know. There's so many places to jump here. Uh, a couple weeks ago on LinkedIn, I put out a post saying that, could we have a 1 week moratorium on LinkedIn posts that were basically AI is banned for a week on AI? Because my experience on the various socials is the early use of AI was actually pretty neat and pretty good. And in fact, there's a couple of risk commentators. There's one in particular who I think is still doing a really good job. They have AI generated posts, but you can tell that they're generated by him. I've had a couple of, uh, conversations with them through DM. Uh, Not that that's any guarantee, but they appear to be a real person with a real job and with the real expertise in their field. And the AI is basically used to create the picture, or more technically, the whiteboard in this. And they cover a lot of risk topics that I think are important uh, in a really, what I think, right level. So it's it's not superficial and it's not uber high that only people with PhDs can get anything out of it. And so I really applaud that use of AI because it's they're using their skill, which is explaining difficult concepts easily and using AI to create basically a whiteboard of it, which I think, I suspect they're probably not an artist or graphic designer. That's a separation of let the human do what the human does best versus uh, uh, let AI do what AI does best, or comparative advantages.
Have you
The
ever
problem
asked
is,
him? Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Have you ever asked him if the AI is trained on his body of work, or is it going across the internet as a knowledge source?
We actually discussed various topics that they might post. That was kind of the main substance of our conversations, various extensions.
Okay.
But then you got other people on LinkedIn who are basically literally bragging about the fact that they're just pumping out LinkedIn posts literally by the thousands with no human contact, like lights out. They're not even generating the ideas anymore. And what that means is we are being flooded, and the curation, when you're flooded, becomes harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
And just one other thing, you talk about the writing for iRisk. I reviewed an academic publication this weekend, our a submission for an academic publication. And this is a serious publication. It's not Mickey Mouse. It's a top-rated journal, and it was sent to me by the editors. Obviously, the editors didn't look at it. It was a case study of implementing risk frameworks in a specific a company. Okay. And it was pure garbage. Like after the abstract, which actually this could be interesting, implementing enterprise risk management and looking at novel ways to measure the value of that or the lack of value from that. I thought, great, we need some fresh thinking in that way.
Yeah.
It was literally garbage thereafter.
AI generated?
Yeah, it kept quoting the same 20 enterprise risk management academics and their same papers again and again and again, almost in every other paragraph.
Yeah.
It totally messed up when COSO and ISO came out. Didn't even acknowledge that ISO had, basically a rebirth. And here I'm going to look silly to our readers, but they too came out with a totally remodeled or re-engineered model in 2017, 2018. I can't remember. Somewhere's in there. Totally ignored that. Never got the references correct. Only gave the reference, never gave the specifics. And then they came up with an ERM model that they're testing on that was completely unrecognizable as an ERM model. Like, totally unrecognizable. And, it could have been slop for the making of pencils versus slop for ERM. So it wasn't even, it was so bad slop, you didn't know what it was for. It could have been slop for, how to meet a significant other.
Yeah.
And how does this get to a reviewer?
I think it's
abstract was great. The rest was just pure garbage that had nothing to do with the abstract.
Yeah. Well, that's it. There's a lot of people relying on it. One thing I wanted to say is Substack, which is a really popular blogging platform. If you haven't heard of it, There are a couple of risk managers on there that post stuff. They've started using Pangram AI to detect for AI usage, and I see on their homepage they are used by University of Maryland and University of Chicago. Or researchers from those two universities are involved with it, and it's supposed to be very accurate. Who knows? I think it's getting more and more difficult to detect. But I think the underlying point is you're seeing a lot of supply that's AI generated, and it's not getting good scrutiny, because one thing we've spoken about is it comes so polished from AI that it reads well at first, and then afterwards you're like, I don't know what I just read. There was nothing in that. It was just slop, like you said. But that's the supply side. But the demand side, readers don't want to read stuff that they recognize as AI. We've asked contributors to the Intelligent Risk publication, are you okay reading AI stuff? We wanted to, maybe I'm being sensitive about it, but maybe other people don't care. People do not want to read AI generated content. They want a human behind it, at least a human, checking and cleaning it up and making sure it's accurate and reflects their experience. So Substacks realized this. I think a lot of other places are too, because like you say, you just get this pipeline of stuff coming in, and how do you
I'm going to take a slightly different view though. So I'm actually not all that upset by reading AI stuff. Okay. I don't really care, particularly if it's like factual stuff. So, I'll give you an example. I'm trying to go through all the plays of Shakespeare again. Okay. Yeah. And I have to admit, I read them in side-by-side versions. So the Old English on the left, translation into contemporary English on the right. Yes, I realize that, I'm probably I'm not trying to become a Shakespearean scholar. But I'm reading Shakespeare actually because I believe that understanding Shakespeare is one of our great risk thinkers. I truly believe that, because Shakespeare is the master in understanding human emotion, human psychology, human sociology, and I still believe that those are the ultimate risk management tools. Mm-hmm. So when I'm doing that, even with the side-by-side translation, I still enjoy and use and utilize various commentaries, including AI-generated commentaries, so I can get the context of the book, or of the play before I start it. I can explore various aspects of it. And so for the factual stuff, that's nice and neat, where AI, for the most part, does a fantastic job. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. In fact, I prefer, because I can ask AI, hey, look, I'm a stupid idiot with, brain of a 7-year-old, and, tell me what's happening in this scene of Macbeth. Okay. Right. Yeah. Whereas if I do something from a human, it's going to be some, English academic snob who's trying to show that they only know 15-letter words, most of which went out of date, 200 years ago. So, what am I going to get out of that? Yeah. So I don't mind AI, but you got to understand when it's going to do stuff. And I think in risk, there's a lot of people who do a really good writing and thinking in risk management using AI. But there's also, unfortunately, a larger number of people who are just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that they get clicks. Yeah. And it's becoming very hard to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah, there's no barrier to entry there, right? Yeah. I'm not sure I have anything more to add to this. I think it's good to learn from risk managers who are doing this well. I think, like you say, when you do see somebody like the LinkedIn poster you mentioned, reach out and find out what they're doing. I've done the same with one of the authors that submitted a paper recently, and his answer was surprising and interesting, and I still want to find out more about the technology he's using, because you do find some risk managers who are very comfortable coding and building their own models and so on, and they seem to have an advantage because they they know what's going on better with AI, and they are the people to learn from, I think. So yeah, learn from people who you think are doing an admirable job with it, because it's not that many of them, and they're pretty open to telling you.
But again, it's the irony of automation. It's the irony of automation all over again. In order to get good, you have to have, let's call it, the dull, boring experience of doing the dull, boring stuff. That's where you learn the intuition, which only comes slowly. And that's where you get the intuition that there's something different or there's something unique here. But because all those dull, boring jobs of any field, but particularly risk management, are now being done by some type of bot or big data system or expert system or AI or whatever.
Yeah.
Junior level employees are not getting that dull, boring first level entry job
that grunt work
experience.
Yeah.
And so they never develop the intuition, and they develop an over reliance on AI. And I always use the example of golf or tennis. Okay, if you read every book on golf or tennis, you will know a lot about golf or tennis. You'll be an expert in golf or tennis. But until you hit a freaking golf ball or until you hit a freaking tennis ball, you don't know dilly squat about how to play golf or how to play tennis.
Yeah. Rick, a question just occurred, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. The writing part of all of this has completely changed, and I know people are using it also for policies and frameworks and so on. I'm not doing much different as a reviewer. I'm curious, how do you think that's going to change? Like, I mean, I get a paper, I sit down, I go through it line by line, trying to understand what they're saying. Is there a role for AI there? Are you already using it?
I think almost the short answer is yes, and the longer answer is no. In academia, I'm highly confident that some of my markers are just putting the stuff into AI, skimming the material, letting AI mark it, and skimming the material and assuring themselves, yeah, AI is correct on this. And so they're only going in and correcting 1 out of 20 AI generated assignments with AI.
Okay.
It's basically AI reviewing AI.
Yeah. So it's the same automation problem, because like, if I hadn't reviewed so many articles in my life, I wouldn't be able to do this. If you're not doing that, you're not building that muscle. And it does take the ability to read for more than 15 minutes at a time, which apparently is a declining skill set.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that. Do not get me started.
Let's not. Hey, Rick, future episode, risk management for Odysseus. Once both of us have seen the movie, what do you think?
Well, you've seen the movie, but you were a wimp and you didn't go see it in IMAX. So here's the problem: is I live in a city with an IMAX, and it is showing in IMAX. But man, you got all these bloody Americans coming up here and taking up all the IMAX tickets. So even though they got like 10 showings a day, there's no ticket. So once I get a ticket to see it, I'll comment.
Check it out. Oh, thanks. We just lost our US audience. There they go.
Hey, you want to talk about a future topic of risk management? Boy,
Yeah.
we got to talk about fake skin and hair color. But anyhow,
Yeah.
I digress.
So go see it in IMAX and 4D because I heard that you can get the shaking seats with the movie. He spends plenty of time in a horse and on a ship, so you'll be thrown around a plenty.
I don't think we have the 4D, but anyhow,
Ah, okay,
I
okay.
haven't been in a 4D theater since Earthquake, so
I've
that's
never
going
been in
back to
one.
1970 or something.
Oh, geez. Okay, I didn't know they did that. So I've never been in one, and the reason I don't like IMAX just is the one in Vancouver is in the planetarium, and you're sitting like you're as if you're in a space shuttle. You're like lying down basically, and the screen is right here in front of you, and you're like you've got to move your neck to see around. And Katya think, well, sorry, my wife thinks that's all there for peripheral, like that's intentional. You're not supposed to look at all that stuff, but I couldn't help it. I was like looking everywhere, so I just found it overwhelming. That's
So
why I don't
we
go back.
learned that Carl is lazy and curious.
Yes. All right. Well, once you've seen the movie, we'll do a risk management study. Okay. All right, everybody. Take care.